Welcome back to News Talk. A deputy county clerk in Rowan County, Kentucky now says he will issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples even if his boss tells him not to. That boss, Kim Davis, is now out of jail, but she remains defiant. We'll convene a special panel momentarily, your calls included. But first, the latest from correspondent Alex Perez in Moorhead, Kentucky.
Marching out to Eye of the Tiger, Kim Davis getting a hero's welcome from hundreds of her supporters. Davis released after 6 days behind bars.
I just want to give God the glory. His people have rallied, and you are a strong people.
Davis, jailed, held in contempt of court for refusing to comply with the judge's order to issue same-sex couples marriage licenses.
Under whose authority are you not issuing licenses?
Kim Davis's refusal to comply, putting her own life under the microscope. She became a born-again Christian about 4 years ago when her mother-in-law died, and she says she had a calling to serve God. Before then, the 49-year-old clerk married 4 times, twice to the same man. Testifying in court Thursday, "I did a lot of vile and wicked things in my past." Tuesday, her supporters is standing by her side, rallied by a tearful GOP presidential hopeful, Mike Huckabee.
People are tired of the tyranny of judicial action that takes people's freedoms away.
As a condition of her release, the judge ordered Davis shall not interfere in any way with the efforts of her deputy clerks to issue marriage licenses to all legally eligible couples. But when asked if she would again block her deputies, Davis's attorneys would only give one answer.
Kim Davis will not violate her conscience.
And a new legal battle now forming, the rock group Survivor suing Mike Huckabee for using their song Eye of the Tiger at that rally. Alex Perez, ABC News, Moorhead, Kentucky.
Thank you, Alex. Joining us now, former Maryland State Delegate Jolene Ivey and Terry Jeffrey, editor of CNSnews.com. Welcome to you both. Thank you very much for being here. We'll open up the phone lines in a moment to give folks at home a chance to comment on all this. Is it okay for someone who has passionate and heartfelt religious beliefs to say, there are aspects of my job I will not do? Jolene Ivey.
Actually, I think it's okay for her to say she disagrees with this. I support her right to object. She has to do it publicly, she has to do it nonviolently, and she has to take the consequences of her actions. But I don't think it's right for me as a liberal to tell someone who I disagree with their views to say that she can't object. She can object, but she's got to suffer the consequences as well. Can
she stay in her job if it means effectively some cannot get married?
Well, that would be a consequence, wouldn't it? I mean, if you...
Well, she is elected separately, so
She is elected separately, and I don't know all the answers as to how their government works, but I can tell you that George Wallace stood in the door of the schoolhouse to keep black children from getting an education next to white children. And he lost. He lost that battle. He could not continue to keep children from integrating a school, to keep them from having an equal education. He couldn't do it. And she's not going to win this battle either.
Terry Jeffrey, what's your view?
Well, and Rosa Parks wouldn't get up her seat on the bus because she was resisting an unjust law. And Martin Luther King did not call off the march on Birmingham when a court told him to, and he was thrown in jail because he was resisting an unjust law. I agree with everything but the last part there. I think there are some facts here that aren't well known about what went on in Kentucky. This lady, of course, was elected last November when same-sex marriage was not legal in the state of Kentucky. It was legalized by a Supreme Court edict in June. At that point, the Democratic governor, Steve Beshear, had the state government just arbitrarily issue a gender-neutral marriage license. Under the existing law in Kentucky, which sanctioned only opposite-sex marriages, a county clerk in Kentucky, under their own personal authority and name, executes the marriage license and therefore the marriage. What this Christian lady said is that she couldn't do that. So she asked the state for a simple accommodation. Don't make me do this in my name. There are many ways it could have been done. In Kentucky, you can get married in any county clerk's office in the state if you're a resident there. There are 10 county clerk's offices less than an hour drive from hers. They specifically targeted her to make a point. And the point was they wanted to force a Christian who did not feel they could personally execute a same-sex marriage to do that or lose her job. That is an outrage. They should have given her an accommodation. And what the folks going after her are saying is, you may not simultaneously be a practicing and sincere Christian and be a county clerk.
So it's 11:30 at night. I have a room at my inn, but I don't like something about you, so I tell you drive an hour away because there's something about you that I don't find quite right.
But it's not 11:30 at night. These people picked her specifically and went after her a couple of weeks after the Supreme Court specifically to force this case. And I will tell you, there is another question.
So there's no one in the town that would want to get married where they live?
No, but there's another question, whether she's right morally or whether the people forcing her to do a same-sex marriage are right. I contend she's right. Jesus is right. God's right. The Bible's right. She's right. The Supreme Court is wrong.
I have to object on pretty much everything he just said.
Is God for same-sex marriage? Is Jesus Christ for same-sex marriage?
Here is my issue. She is an elected official. She is, in fact, clerk of the court. She is not even just, say, a legislator who makes laws, who can put in a bill to change a law. She is the clerk of the court. It is her job to fulfill that obligation. If she doesn't want to, that's fine, but there are consequences. And I would hope that part of her objection would be to publicly resign. But this isn't about Christianity.
Sure it is.
There are different, this is a country that has all kinds of religious beliefs, and we're supposed to be open to them, but we're not supposed to be ruled by them.
Do you think we can disband the Supreme Court because we have Jesus?
Well, I certainly think that would be a bad idea, but Terry's probably all for it.
Here's more to the point. The founding fathers of our country said in the Declaration of Independence that we had a right to declare independence based on the laws of nature and nature's God. In that same document, they said that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The question ultimately is whether
which is a good deal for two of the three of us.
All persons. So the ultimate question of a just law, and this is the understanding that the founders had, is whether it comports with the natural law or not. Now, they were violating the natural law by the institution of slavery. In the 1850s, the Supreme Court in the Dred Scott decision said a black person who had been a slave is not a human being. They are property. And people who defied that Supreme Court decision by helping blacks escape slavery in the South were doing the right thing in defiance of the Supreme Court.
And they were private citizens.
We do applaud some who stand up to what they see as an unjust law.
100%. Even if I don't agree with them, I give them the space to do so.
So is Kim Davis a modern-day Rosa Parks?
She is not, and I'm really offended. As an African-American woman myself, someone who has looked up to Rosa Parks and her legacy my whole life, when I see what she did and what Martin Luther King did as private citizens, okay? As private citizens, they defied the unjust laws of this country and put their lives at risk. I don't think anybody here thinks that Kim Davis's life is at risk, and she's not a private citizen. She is a public official who was elected to do a specific job.
Shouldn't Governor Wallace have overthrown segregation and resisted the segregation laws, even though they were the law of the land of his state? Shouldn't he said, no, they're wrong, I'm standing up for what's right?
George Wallace stood in the schoolhouse door, and
he
so is
enforced
she,
an unjust
and
and evil
so
law.
is Kim Davis.
Martin Luther King, when he said no, he was going to march in Birmingham. They were going to resist the unjust edict of a court. He wrote his letter from the Birmingham jail, I believe, maybe the greatest single American political document of the 20th century. In that document, Martin Luther King quoted two Catholic saints, St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas. He said, an unjust law is a law that doesn't comport with the natural law or the law of God. You cannot obey an unjust law. So ultimately the question is, you have to decide, is it just for the Supreme Court to tell the American people that two men can marry each other, that they can adopt a baby, that a baby does not have a right to a mother? Do you believe a baby doesn't have a right to a mother?
Oh,
yes
I believe that any parent can be a great parent.
Does a baby have a right to a mother?
I did not have a mother when I was a small child.
Does a baby have a right?
Thank you very much.
Does babies have a right to a mother?
I had a wonderful father who took great care of me and who married my stepmother. And this is completely irrelevant.
Let me ask you a question.
Terry, what sort of system do we have if local officials can pick and choose what aspects of Supreme Court decisions they want to abide by?
Our system is falling apart because we have federal courts and people in federal government who ripping us loose from the foundation of our society, which is the understanding, as Martin Luther King said, that a just law is rooted in the natural law and the law of God. And the fact is, either we believe that the state, the government, has the right to deny a baby the right to a mother, or we believe in same-sex marriage. You can't have both. Do you believe?
Hang on
yes
one second,
or no?
folks. Hang on one second. I'm up on a hard break. Jolene Ivey, Terry Jeffrey, stand by for just a moment, please. Most of you will see more of our conversation straight ahead, so keep it here if you're watching After Dark. We invite you, as always, to pick up our entire second half hour online at news8newstalk.com. That's news8newstalk.com. Keep it here.